For those of you who were not here last week or not able to watch on live stream, last week I began a series of 3 talks about renewing our parish as we move toward our 40th anniversary this spring. And I'll just quickly summarize last week. I said that this renewal and discussion of it began in the parish council about 3 or 4 years ago. And we worked at it for quite a while of exactly what it ought to look like, what kind of things we ought to be dealing with. And right when we were moving strongly with it, the pandemic hit, and that set everything back for all of us for about 2 years. Now, as we start to move a little out of the pandemic at the moment, and as we approach the 40th anniversary, we said, let's put all of these together. Let's renew the parish. Let's celebrate the 40th, not just with a party, but celebrate the 40th with a real commitment to the future and a real sense of direction for the future. Then with it, we said, as we come out of the pandemic, let's not just return to normal. Let's let this kind of death period of the last 2 years end in a resurrection where we come out stronger, more alive, more fully committed to each other and to the poor than we have been. I mentioned last week that when we began the parish 40 years ago, we stayed with what we called 6 foundations, our 6 guiding principles from theology. That we should be a strong community, that we should be servants, that we should have very good liturgy, that we should have a strong lifelong learning, that we should be financially responsible to each other and for each other and work together, and finally that all of us would commit ourselves to the future in making sure that we stayed connected to each other through our buildings and grounds. So 40 years ago, we were talking more about commitments of money, commitments of energy at that time in order to build a church, to get the property, to do all the things we had to do to build a parish from scratch. Today, what I'd like to talk about are these 6 same foundations, these 6 principles that we gain from theology about what it means to be a church. Not just how to be a parish, but what it means to be the living body of Christ today. One of the most important aspects of Jesus' ministry, and as he lived among us, was to be welcoming. He welcomed the sinner. He welcomed the prostitute, the tax collector. He welcomed the leper. He welcomed the poor. He welcomed the outcast. This was part of his ministry. So now we don't have to be quite as concerned about building a community, although that's always something that's in the back of our mind, that working together, praying together, studying together, working at Nick Fest, all those kind of things help us to be a community. But the most important thing is that we be welcoming. And welcoming has a number of different aspects. One of them that's very important is that we have a consistent welcoming committee. We've had kind of up and down welcoming through the years. We'll have some packets at registration. We'll have someone drop off some packets. We've had some welcome evenings to new parishioners, but it's been very sporadic. We need some people to commit themselves to being a consistent committee that meets at least 3 or 4 times a year to say, how are we doing? Are we living up to this? Are we making sure that everyone who is new feels welcome in the parish? But there's other aspects to the welcoming ministry too, and that's welcoming back those who used to pray with us but don't anymore, who are Catholic. Also welcoming to those who are not of our faith, to make sure that they know we are always open to them being part of us, and that we will take them where they are and help them grow into studying our faith if that's where God is leading them. So under welcoming, that's the stress I want to make. Under the servant church, we've been very good at being a servant church. In my mind, it's one of our best qualities. We have cared about the poor and fought for the poor consistently from our very beginnings. And for those of you who were here at that time, having people like Fred and Mary Husky from the parish and others who had a long history of working with the poor, they were a great inspiration to us. Under each of these areas, when you get the booklet, there will be a booklet just of these principles and guiding dreams and foundations. There's a companion booklet that'll list sometimes 10 or 20 things under each of them that people might want to do. But under the servant church, I want to focus on 3 things. One is our work with Guatemala. Our work with our sister San Louis Rey de Francia, St. Louis, King of France, in English. That's our sister parish in Jalapa, Guatemala. And we've been very good at financial support to them, but our communication with them has been very irregular. We haven't built those bridges. We haven't built that commitment where their culture can enrich ours and our culture can enrich theirs, and we can talk with each other as brother and sister Catholics across the Americas. So I really want to focus on needing people for the Guatemala Committee that again will meet on a regular basis to keep us very consistent in that ministry. And of course, because we're dealing with Guatemala, if there are people who are fluent in Spanish, they are most welcome on that committee, although the committee is open to all of us. There are 2 other things that I'd like to see us begin very soon that we have not been doing. One is called a Good Samaritan group. The Good Samaritan group, in my mind, is a group of men and women who are maybe 10 or 12 men or women who are very handy. And you know who you are. People who are good at fixing light switches, people who are good at changing basic little plumbing problems where a plunger isn't working for someone. There's so many older people in our parish now who need services, and it can be as simple as changing light bulbs because they can't get on ladders, or changing batteries in smoke detectors, fixing a loose banister on a back porch that's a little dangerous, that needs a little tightening up. We don't want to be taking the work of the electricians and plumbers away. Those jobs are still theirs. These are just those little daily things that usually get done by someone in the household itself. But as we get older and there's more widows and more widowers, and those of us who ought to not be on ladders, this is a very important ministry. A third one is for people of all ages, whether it's children, teenagers, young adults, or retired people. And I'd like to call this ministry the Kindred Spirits Ministry. It's a note-writing ministry where we write notes on a regular, consistent basis to people in nursing homes, in assisted living homes, people who are homebound, whatever it might be, people who've lost a spouse recently, just notes that are affirming and caring that we write to them on a regular basis. And whether it's just people that we know from our parish in those situations, or whether it's others in nursing homes or at Cambridge House or the Colonnades or the senior living apartments, wherever it might be, people who need to hear the affirming words of God that come through God's people. The third, after we have our welcoming committee and a servant committee, obviously it's all rooted in our being a praying community. And as I said from the beginning, we've always wanted good liturgy, good choirs, good preaching. We've always wanted to really make our liturgy strong. Right now, I think the emphasis we need to work at are the choirs. Our main choir has always from the beginning consistently been about 45 or 50 people, but we can always use new voices, new sound, because there's always people either getting too old or who have died or moved away, whatever it might be. We always need people for the main choir. We also are blessed in our parish with what we've called a funeral choir. Whenever someone dies, word goes out to people and in this group, and they're anywhere at funerals from 10 of them to 30 of them, and it's wonderful. I've been to so many funerals around the diocese and in other parishes where there's just an organist or just an organist and a cantor. We are so blessed with this funeral choir. And even if you're not in the regular choir, that's an important one. Two that I want to focus on especially are the children's choir. We've always had a children's choir, but we can never quite get it off the ground. Kids who were in the choir at school from St. Nicholas, for some reason don't join the St. Nicholas Children's Choir for here on Sunday. Our parents don't encourage it. And that's something we really need to look at, because so many Sundays there'll be 6 little kids over here or 8 kids, and that's wonderful to hear. But a parish our size should have at least 30 kids in a children's choir. But that counts on the parents encouraging your kids. Now, when you listen to your kids at home, if they can't carry a tune in a basket, maybe they're not the one. Maybe that's not their gift. But you hear your kids sing, and if they sing well, encourage them. Tell them that we need them. And we need them because I'll just ask you right now. If we had a children's choir of 30 or 35 or 40 kids, and they're singing with those beautiful, innocent children voices, wouldn't that be uplifting to all of us? Wouldn't that help all of us to pray better? It's a gift that children and their parents can give to the parish. And finally, a contemporary choir. We've talked about this for a couple years. We really need to move this way because, as I said some time ago, even if we have a very good adult choir, young people don't like older people's music in any area of life. Why would they like older people's music at church? They want contemporary music. It doesn't have to be bongo drums. It doesn't have to be mariachi bands. It doesn't have to be loud. It can be just beautiful music that's attractive to young people. We need musicians for that kind of group. Someone who can play the piano, someone who plays the guitar, someone who might play violin, someone who adds that deep, rich sound of the bass, and all the singers that are needed. So when we have the commitment times at the celebration evenings, think about that commitment for yourself. Let's move, so we're not here all day today. Let's move to the last three. With the learning area that we always want to be lifelong, we are blessed in our parish with a wonderful catechesis of the Good Shepherd. It's a beautiful Montessori-based program. We have it for 3-year-olds to 5-year-olds, 6 to 9-year-olds, 9 to 12-year-olds, and on each end, toward high school and toward younger, we are working at it at the present time. It's a beautiful way to introduce people to the faith. But we really need people to be trained to be catechists in that ministry. The ministry has been so successful, but we don't have the number of catechists we need to be trained to do it. And our parish is the training center for the whole Midwest part of the country. We've, in fact, sometimes from the whole country. We've had people trained here from Ohio and Alaska and Colorado, and they drive here to be trained. And we need to train more and more of our own people. That's one I want to focus on strongly. For those of us who are older, the small faith communities, whether that's for young adults, whether it's for the 35-year-olds, whatever age group, in the year 2000, all across the country, people did a program called Renew 2000. And when we did that in 2000, we started the small faith communities. At that time, we had 30 small faith communities, 6, 8, 10, maybe 12 people gathered to pray together, read together, study together, listen to each other, learn from each other. We had 385 parishioners involved in these 30 small faith communities. There's 2 or 3 of them that are still meeting 22 years later, but it's going to be a strong emphasis for me in this coming year to make sure that those small faith communities rise again from the dead, because it's one of the finest ways that we keep growing in our faith. The next principle, we 40 years ago, this principle was just called a finance committee because we needed people to be accountable for our finances. We need people to run fund drives. We had fund drives. We needed all those kinds of things. Now we're not asking for your money. We're asking for your commitment. And especially now, we're simply calling it the involved people, the involved committee. And under this, we probably have at least 20 ways to be involved. But I'm reaching out especially to young people. And whether these are high school kids, whether they're college kids, young adults, single people, married people in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, even into their 50s, we need you to take the torch. We need you to move forward. I'm reaching out to you in a special way, saying, keep us strong, and do it for two reasons. Do it for yourself so that the parish stays strong. Do it for your children so that they are attracted to a vibrant, caring, and strong parish. Finally, that committee that we used to call Building and Grounds, we built Building and Grounds so that we could be connected to each other, so we could meet here, meet in the gymnasium, meet in the spirituality center, all the things we've built. But now our connections are different. We've got the buildings. Here's what we need most. We need more people who are willing to be trained for doing the live stream services, both because we don't want to wear out these good people who have been doing it for us. They've been doing a wonderful job, and we owe them a great debt of thanks for what they have done these past 2 years. But we need 10 or 12 or 15 people who are trained, not just to give them a break sometimes, but also because as an older parish, there's more people asking for live streams for funerals where their funeral members of their immediate family can't be at the funeral and would love to see it on live stream. Or people who are getting married, who have grandparents who can't get to the wedding, who would love to be part of it at the time. We can not only maintain that ministry, but deepen that ministry with more people. There's another way we are connected, and I'll end with these. The first is we've had so many deaths in the parish over the last 3 or 4 years. Some of it has been COVID, some of it has been just the exhaustion of people, some of it have been the age of our parish. But we need a consistent bereavement community, because people move in and out of bereavement communities. They're there a while and then move on. But we need people to coordinate those, to keep that going. We've had them in the past, but we need them so much for men and women to get together and simply connect over their common experiences, their pain, their hopes, their courage, and all that's involved in grieving. And the last is right before the pandemic started, I had met with a couple about starting a group for parents with special needs children. And whether it's special needs from autism or some other disability, parents of kids with special needs need extra support from each other. And because we were just about to start that, before the pandemic. I want to make sure that starts soon. I know these talks have been long, last week, this week, but they're important for the future of our parish. I am so proud of you. I am so proud of this parish. Through the 40 years, you have been so cooperative, so supportive, so willing to keep moving forward. And I don't know how long I'll be here. There's a rumor that I'm retiring this summer. If it's true, I don't know anything about it. That's not my intention. But I know I can't work forever. But whether I'm here or gone, this community needs to remain strong, vibrant, with a great vision. What we're doing right now recommits us, and because of the principles we're following, recommits our parish council for the next 5 or 10 years.
As we approach the 40th anniversary of the founding of St. Nicholas,
we are kicking off a new movement
to renew our spirit and build upon the foundations of our church.
To serve,
to welcome,
to be involved,
to pray,
to learn,
and to connect.
Each of us have gifts from the Holy Spirit that can make a difference in our church.
What is your gift?
Please join us at one of our parish celebrations to be held in March.
Father Bill will share our vision for the future of St. Nicholas.
and each person will have an opportunity to discover how they can join us in building the kingdom of God.
It's easy. Just reserve your spot at stnicholaso'fallon.org.
We can't wait to see you.
We can't wait to see you.
We can't wait to see you.